Welcome to Faith and Vision Live. The show will begin in 1 minute. Welcome to Faith and Vision Live. The show will begin in 30 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's begin.
Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Faith and Fishing Live. Already getting called out in the comments by my mom. Finally, yes, we are running late, and I do apologize for that. But yeah, so we are going to we're going to have a really good episode tonight. We are going to be talking. We're going to be talking about some faith topics, some fishing topics, but most importantly, we're going to be announcing the winner of the 5,000 listener giveaway. You know, it's been a little bit of a long time for that, but I wanted to make sure everybody had a chance to jump in there. So we're giving away. Let's see, what do we have? We have a prize pack from Mr. B Lure Company. That's going to be an awesome prize pack. We have a couple gift cards from Jade's Jigs. And I'm going to be giving away a t-shirt as well. So I'm going to go ahead and show y'all the merch story here. So we've got the Hey Y'all t-shirt with Faith and Fishing on the back. We've got the I don't worry about my problem here. I just fish. Just make being a good person a priority. We've got all the logo stuff. So yeah. It's going to be an awesome time. But before we jump into that, I want to introduce again with me. I've got Robert Randolph going to be joining me. So Robert, man, welcome again.
Yeah, good to be here, man. I appreciate the invite. So looking forward to it.
Absolutely, man. So last time we kind of gave you a quick time to introduce yourself, but we did not introduce your content. I wanted you to introduce Outdoors to Go.
Sure, yeah. So I have a Instagram is Outdoors to Go. YouTube is Outdoors to Go. It's mainly my tournament fishing stuff, practice fishing. I started it kind of as Outdoors to Go, basically when you don't have time to get outside or maybe you're at work or, you just can't make the time to get out there. Outdoors to Go, you can click on something and that gets you out there a little bit through me. So that's what the name is. Basically, I fished the local Central Carolina kayak fishing trail. And there's some tournaments, quite a few tournaments from that on there. We fished the Hobie BOS. Toledo Bend is on there. I've got the video from the other two Hobies. I just haven't put it up yet. I got busy, run a lawn care business. So in the summertime, the time gets tight as far as my extra time. So it's a little bit easier to do the content in the fall, winter time, and then spring when the grass starts growing. It's kind of game on for work. So that slows my content creation down just a bit. There's also some LeConte Lodge trips on there. So me and my family, my wife, let's see, we've been together for 20 years, and I have an 18-year-old son, 16-year-old daughter, and a 14-year-old son. And for the last few years, we've gone to Mount LeConte, and it's a 7-mile hike up, and then you can stay at a lodge at the top. There's no electricity. It's like a one-room cabin, but it is a comfy bed to sleep in, and then the next day you can go back down 7 miles. So those trips are on there. We also a couple other fun trips. We did it's called the Virginia Creeper Trail, and it's I think that trail is 15 miles, and it's on an old railroad bed, and it's a downhill bike ride. So that was a ton of fun. We did that with another family that we go to church with. Their kids are all the same ages and as our kids, so it's fun, and we've been on a couple of trips with them. And there's the Instagram. Same as just pictures of fishing trips. Me and my son did the Kids Big Rock last month. That was fun. We didn't place, but we did catch 6 wahoo, and I think we were 10th out of almost 80 boats in the wahoo category. So the Big Rock tournament, for those in North Carolina, most people know what the Big Rock tournament is, but for those not in North Carolina, it's a billfish offshore tournament, and so we got to participate in that. That was a pretty good deal. That's basically a rundown of it.
Absolutely. And I will say your videos, something I really like about your videos is you can tell you put your work into it, but it's also super laid back. It's
Yeah.
and it's whenever you go out, you tell it like it is. It's not a highlight reel.
Yeah, no, it's not a highlight reel, and really, I should probably show more of that. That's kind of why the other 2 Hobie BOSs, I've had the video sitting there, and I did so bad at Santee Cooper. Toledo Bend, I had I left here on Tuesday and basically drove the whole day Tuesday. Slept in the truck at the boat ramp Tuesday night and got up and I fished Wednesday, and then got to the campground after fishing that day. Fished Thursday, Friday. I had 3 days of pre-fishing, had a pretty good game plan, and placed in the middle of the pack on that. And then Santee Cooper, I didn't have enough. I didn't have time because the grass had already started growing, so I couldn't really get down there, even though that one was a lot closer. I only pre-fished on Friday, and I just never found anything. I caught a couple pre-fishing, but on tournament day, I don't even think I scored a fish. And so I came back home on Sunday just because I think my daughter was playing softball that weekend. So I was already out of it. And then the Susquehanna, same thing. I got into that off the waiting list and drove up. And as soon as I got like 20 miles, I think I may have already been like driving up the side of the river. It's like a 40-mile stretch you can fish on that. But my transmission started slipping. Went to the captain. I pre-fished that day and found a few fish, and but I went to the captain's meeting that night, and the transmission just got worse and worse. It was like a 25-mile trip to the captain's meeting from where I was staying at, and so I ended up fishing Saturday, but I left. I just stayed right where I was camping at. I went out of that ramp and came back just to keep from driving, and caught a couple of fish, but then the same thing, I decided to come back home and give myself an extra day, and I'm glad I did. The transmission ended up going out right before Washington, D.C. So I was stuck on the side of the road the rest of the day on Saturday, and then actually a guy that I used to go to church with, him and his son were camping not close by, but closer than anybody else, and they ended up coming to pick me up and giving me a ride back, and ended up, I've got the truck back, got it fixed now. So that was quite the weekend. But everything happens for a reason. So, kind of got to spend some time with Sean and his son Brody on the way back. So, that was a cool part of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm still waiting on my car to get fixed. I'm been in a a bit of a. It's just been, the last time I went fishing was July 2nd. And so I pulled a muscle in my chest that kept me out for a while, and then I messed up my car, and I don't have a way to carry stuff out. So I'm itching.
I'm sure.
I am itching to get out there, but yeah, man. So let's go ahead and get the news out of the way. Let's go ahead and get this giveaway winner announced. So what I did over here was let me share this screen here. Oh, here we go. So over here, so we only had 4 entries. So we had Barry Lawrence, who he's got a podcast on YouTube along with Sandy Marks. It's called what is it? The real real life boys. Is that what it's called, Robert? Do you know?
I think that's right. I've watched it a couple of times.
Where they have it's an interview based podcast talking about faith, family, and fishing, and it is fantastic. I definitely encourage you to go check it out. But he said his favorite episode was Dr. Peter Ely so far. Shout out to Dr. Peter Ely. Houston White over on Facebook said that his favorite was Ramon Outdoors. MJ Outdoor Adventures on Instagram said Joey Doza from Jade's Jigs. And then ASAP Fishing, shout out to Aaron from ASAP Fishing. He said that it was either Brandon Mays or Ramon Outdoors that was his favorite. So what I did was I just put, I didn't want it to be, just 1 through 4, and then 2 and 3 are the only 2 that get picked from pretty much. So I went down to 32. So I'm going to make this random number generator here from 1 to 32. I'm going to say generate, and it is 2. All right, so Houston White, if you are listening, you can go ahead and DM me with your information. So I will get everything sent to you. So again, that's going to be the prize pack from Mr. B Lure Company. We've got gift cards from Jay's Jigs, and you'll get to pick a T-shirt from the merch store. I just need your size and style and color. So yeah, I'll be reaching out to you shortly. So I will go ahead and I'll just leave this up so that I don't have to try to remind myself or anything. I'll just leave it there so that whenever this is over with, I can go ahead and send you a message. But yeah, so congratulations to Houston, and we will get you set up, man. But yeah, so we had a couple topics that we wanted to kind of break open and talk about. First, I wanted to ask. So this is a question that we used to ask on mission trips a lot, to just kind of make sure that we were looking and trying to see him. And it goes along the lines of the same thing as a little while back we had Pete Rogers from the Christian Outdoors podcast on, and he talked about this, enjoying God every day. So he asked his kids, how did you enjoy God today? I'm going to ask, where have you seen God recently, man?
Well, it's really like the story that I told about the transmission going out. Sean is probably not the first one that would have come to my mind on people to call to help me out, but he is very similar in his attitude and the way he approaches life to me. And after being on the side of the road for a while, I did get towed off the interstate to a parking area, and I was in a parking area that was right beside the interstate. And I didn't. My wife was with my daughter that weekend, and it was about 5 hours from where we're at in Raleigh to the other side of DC. And I didn't want to put her on the road with my daughter playing softball, and I didn't want I was afraid something would happen to her truck, and then we were both, stuck somewhere. And so Sean came to my mind as somebody, like, if I call Sean, he knows that if I'm calling him that I need some help. So I gave him a call, and he was like, "Oh yeah, well, it just so happens that me and Brody are camping, and we're in West Virginia." And they were about maybe 3.5 hours from where I was at. And he was like, we were driving back home today anyway. And so we'll just come up there and drive the extra 3.5 hours, pick you up, and then go home. And, and it led to a lot of some good conversation. It also led to another opportunity work-wise that I really feel like, all of this, everything happens for a reason. And the company that he works for is looking for some more help. And, it may lead into something further where I can still do the lawn care stuff on the side and get a job with his company. And sorry about that. So, it's one of those things where it's something that is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe my transmission's going out. I'm sitting up here stuck on the side of the road. It's one of the worst feelings when your vehicle won't go and you are that far from home. I guess, by yourself, you can look at that two ways. I mean, I'm glad my family wasn't when I had to figure all that out. At least I guess I was by myself. And then for him and his son to be on a trip, not that far away, and to be able to swing over and pick me up and give me a ride home. And I always like hanging out with Sean and Brody is his son, and, have some good conversations, some fellowship on the 5-hour drive home. And then for that to, maybe something else just falls in my lap because of that. It's almost like, that door was opened for a reason. And, so, we'll kind of see where that goes, but, kind of that whole thing, really made me think about, everything does happen for a reason. It's one of those fishing trip. That fishing trip, after the transmission went out, I was beating myself up. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have went up here, And after I got done beating myself up, and my wife was like, you're crazy, quit beating yourself up. And it really, was kind of eye opening that everything does happen for a reason, and so that. I don't know if I really answered the question of, where do you find it? But sometimes it just slaps you in the face and you can't help but to find it.
Absolutely.
And then other times, it's like, like the witty outdoors, it's how many sunrises and sunsets do you see? And, I think, you can go to church and you can sit in the pew and you can sing the worship and praise songs. And there are a lot of times when I'm doing that I feel close to God. But honestly, if I'm sitting in a deer stand or I'm on a kayak or a boat and you're fishing or you're hunting and you're by yourself, there's something about being out there that early when it is just you and the trees and bugs and animals and fish that really kind of makes you put your life in perspective and makes you think about, the good things that you're doing and what you can do better on. And that's exactly what we were talking about at the end of the last podcast. So, um, what about you?
Well, so it's kind of a bunch of different instances in the same time frame. So um, we've got a 17-month-old little boy, and we took him to the public aquarium for the first time over the weekend. So down at the coast in North Carolina, we have three different aquariums. We have the one up in the Outer Banks. We have the one at Pine Knoll and the one at Fort Fisher. We went to the one at Pine Knoll. Um, and so, just right off the bat, you kind of get this reminder of how it is with God, where he's kind of guiding you towards something really awesome, and you've got something that you really really like, and you've got to leave that behind sometimes, and trust God, and follow where he's going to get the really big things. So we're walking into the aquarium where they've got thousands of gallons of aquariums with all kinds of crazy fish and sea turtles and all this stuff that Henry just loves. And on the bridge going into the aquarium, they have a bunch of little like fish silhouettes on the planks where they thank donators, and like in memory of, they give memorandums and stuff. And for the first, I'd say that the first 10 feet, I swear he touched every single one of them and looked up and said, "Fish, fish." And it's like, come on, buddy, we got to get going. There's something so awesome just right over there, that if you just trust me and you follow me, you will see something so awesome. That he stopped, and part of it is that reminder to trust God, and part of it is to don't get so caught up in the destination that you um, don't enjoy the journey. Because I mean, he enjoyed every step of that bridge pointing to all the little fish, which is something that everybody else just walks right over, doesn't even look
Yeah.
at. Um, and So that was awesome. And then we get there, and it's this kind of dark room. He hears a bunch of, like, they have that waterfall right inside, so it's loud, and he's kind of clutching and doesn't know what to think. And then we get to that first exhibit, and he just lights up, and then he's like running all over the place, yelling at the top of his lungs, having a blast. And just seeing that joy in uh in a little kid. And and then there was this lady who is we kind of ended up right beside each other for a lot of the time. And it's like every time we would go around a corner, she would be sitting at a bench, and she would take the time to talk to Henry, and call him friend and everything. And just kind of seeing her joy and her you know um, just sheer friendliness, being able to, and Henry, he's got the charisma of every human being that's ever lived, all like multiplied by 1,000. He's friends with everybody instantly. So just seeing that dynamic between those two throughout our entire trip around the aquarium was just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, well, it seems like he may be a social butterfly, right?
I don't know, man. If he is, I don't know where he gets it from. Um, because I mean, the only social butterfly I know of that's ever been in my family was my granddaddy. So,
Yeah, well, hey, maybe that's where he gets it from. Yeah, another instance that just came to mind when you were telling that story. Um, I got up and I want to say it was yesterday. yesterday morning, and I'm pretty sure I was sitting on the edge of the bed, and I had already been up and had a cup of coffee, and I picked up my phone, and it just had an alert that somebody went live, and it was another kayak angler, and he was in his truck driving from the last event that he did, and he was singing praise and worship songs, and it just looked like he wanted to go live because he needed somebody to talk to, or he just needed to share that moment. And at one point he was like, I don't even know if this is going out. I don't know if anybody is even listening. It says there's 1 or 2 people on here, and I messaged in the chat, and anyway, that I guess it was a copyright deal or whatever, because you could hear the music playing in the background, and it wasn't long. He got through 2 songs, and the recording stopped, and the Facebook took the video down. And it was just one of those things where, it's not somebody that I would have ever known, even that little snippet of his faith story. But I see him on Facebook and social media all the time. And that was just one of those things where there's no record of it. I'm not sure who the other 1 or 2 viewers were, but I'm going to reach out to that angler, and maybe we can get him on. He can share his faith story with us. So I just thought that was it was one of those things where, who goes live at 7:30 in the morning, or it was probably even before that. It was like maybe 6:30. It was early. And that's the one reason I clicked on. I'm like, what is somebody going live for this early in the morning? Maybe they're on the water fishing. That would be the only other thing. But it was kind of like, it was one of those things where it's like he just needs somebody to sing with him, I guess,
For sure. That's awesome. But yeah, man. So we were going to talk some fishing stuff too, and you brought up a really, really good topic.
Really good or really bad, one of the two, right?
Well, it's something I've been wanting to talk about too, and just haven't really brought it up with anybody yet. But so we talk about how amazing the kayak fishing community is all the time, and for the most part, it really is. There's just something about the camaraderie with the kayak fishing group that is just special. But then there's this other side of it. And it tends to be, and not just with kayak fishing, but with fishing in general, it tends to kind of surround these big Facebook groups that you see, and it's this negativity. We see it all the time. Something new comes out, or a new tournament trail starts up, or an old tournament trail, somebody makes one mistake, and all of a sudden it is just an absolute smash fest.
Oh yeah, it's a firestorm. And I guess we were talking earlier. I mean, there's a couple of North Carolina fishing groups, and you can go on there, and somebody will say, I just moved here. Hey, what about this lake or whatever? And there's always the 1 or 2 people that are like, oh, I can't believe you're on here asking about spots or whatever. And it's just like, for the most part, the people will respond accordingly and say, and give them some information that will help them out. But you always have those few people that are just negative Nancy's, so to speak. And I see it not only in the fishing world, but other Facebook groups that I'm in. You'll see that as well. So I don't know if it's definitely not only a fishing world problem. It is, just all of these groups. It's so easy for people to sit behind the computer and, um, write things that they would not say. So I can say, and especially the three Hobie BOS events that I've been to, everybody that I've met um, has been extremely nice. It's all, it is all of what you would expect. It is all the good things. And honestly, I don't have anything negative to say about any of the experiences on those 3 trips that I did. And it's the same for our local stuff. The trails that are around here, um, the Carolina kayak angling, Central Carolina kayak fishing, Queen City. I've done some events with those guys. All 3 of those trails, everybody that does those, uh, I haven't had any negative experiences with any of them or any of the people. And I think, on the local level, and when you actually go to the events, um, I don't think you're going to get a lot of negativity. You do see people post some run-ins every once in a while with other kayak anglers trying to beat somebody to a spot, or maybe taking a spot that an angler that is in the money, they're trying to, that they don't want somebody to get on their spot. And if I'm in 150th place and this guy's in the top 10, you should let them have that spot. But there are instances where people have not done that. You'll see that sometimes, but for the
So
most part,
let's talk about that for just a second. So you said
sure.
you should let somebody have that spot. Um,
Yeah, no doubt.
okay, so I'm going to play devil's advocate for just a second.
All
I
right.
I in that situation, if I am in that tournament, I will probably do the same as you. And I will be like, you know what, I'm not in the money. You are. You go for it. But at the same time, I could be fishing for big bass that day.
Sure. Yeah.
I may not be in the money, but I might have a chance to catch a fish that's worth $300.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
There's no, yeah, you could do that, but you also, like in the Hobie BOSs, it's a 2-day deal. So normally I'm talking about the second day, and a lot of times you'll have maybe 10, 15 anglers go out of the same ramp, and you'll see where people are fishing. At Santee Cooper, there were, oh, so I pre-fished Santee Cooper on Friday. I started at the bottom of one of the lakes and I worked my way up all the way through the lower lake was Moultrie. I worked up all those ramps. I really didn't find anything. I went on the upper lake and went to 3 or 4 ramps. Really didn't find anything. So on tournament day, I went all the way up in the river, in the backwaters. And when I got to the ramp, there was probably 30 people there, and it was all the people that you would expect that you knew were going to catch fish. Uh, Russ Snyder, the One Objective guys. There was a ton of people at this ramp. So you will see those people, and if they're in the money, if I'd have went there the second day, and you're not going to get on top of some of those people, because even if you say, hey, I'm still got a chance at big fish, yeah, you just got to find somewhere else to catch your big fish. But yeah, you can't really, if somebody's in the top 10 and they're going for that, and if you're in the top, if you're 20, if you're sitting at 20, and you're not going to go fish a spot that you didn't fish the day before, but you saw somebody else fish, that's not right either. But at the same time, if it's new water, or maybe you didn't fish that ramp and you just switch ramps, the main thing is to communicate with the other angler. And sometimes somebody may not know if that angler is in contention or not, but that's where it is, just talking like, hey man, where are you setting at, or where are you fishing at? A lot of times if you ask them where they're fishing at, they're going a totally different direction. And then if you both end up going towards the same place. If you're both in contention, you split it up and hope you don't cannibalize the fish in there. But, back to what we were talking about, though, the whole Facebook group deal and people, bashing, either other fishing groups or trails or this, that, or the other. It's something really that I think probably turned some people off to either some of the trails or, some of the events. And these guys and ladies that go around and do these events, on all these trails, even the local ones, they don't, a lot of times they don't deserve a lot of the stuff that's being thrown at them. I feel like, you take KFL, for example, those guys catch a lot of flack. They've had some issues in recent weeks. But at the same time, man, you take these dudes that we fish with in our local clubs, the guys that are on the casters and the lunkers, man, you won't get a better set of guys than the guys that are on both of those teams.
Absolutely.
And it's just, you take the lunkers last week and I was sitting there just going in and out of the feed because I was at the softball field. So kind of in between the games, I was trying to watch some of that and keep up with the score. And, the lunkers came back and Dave Hart and Steve Perry, they got on a group of fish and they ended up pulling that out and they ended up beating a team that hadn't been beaten all year.
Yeah.
And, because of some drama and people, just people, a couple guys acting silly, like you shouldn't even act, that a lot of the spotlight got taken off of the good things that happen in that and the good people that are fishing it. And, and then you look at some of the Facebook groups and people are commenting and saying things that they don't have a clue of what happened. I look at all that stuff, but you'll rarely see me comment on something that I have no knowledge of and just, piling onto something that is better just left alone, let the people deal with it, move on to the next thing, celebrate the good things. But it's the stuff like that, I don't know if there's a remedy for it. But I definitely think that, as a group, as a kayak fishing group, that as a whole, we can do better on situations like that. And some of these groups need to, try to remain more positive. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And something that gets me is a lot of the times all the negativity is because it's different. Like with the KFL stuff, so much of the negativity was because it wasn't the style that person would want to fish themselves.
Right.
Then fish the tournament that is. Like this is a really entertaining tournament format. Like I really like the format of KFL. It's not going to be for me to fish just because I'm not going to be able to get that kind of time off and
Right.
travel that way. But let the ones that can do it because I want to watch them. Like that's a really cool format, but because it's not what certain people would like to fish themselves, they just bash it.
Yeah.
And it's the same with products. You see products that they come out and they're different and they get made fun of incessantly, and it's like
just don't buy it. If you don't like it, just
right.
don't buy it. There's no reason, somebody put time and effort into making those products, and it's, just don't buy it. Just move on to what you do enjoy or what the product you do like.
Absolutely. I'll be honest. I've run to the defense of of a couple of them. One in particular, he has been on this podcast talking about his product, and every time I see it on Facebook being shared, it's to make fun of it. And it's like, you know what? What have you created? Like,
Mhm.
what have you created that is so different than everybody else that you're getting made fun of for it?
Yeah.
Probably nothing, because you're too afraid to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a lot of people that you see, commenting, are people that don't have anything better to do. And I also think, kind of along the same lines, and kind of the reason the whole outdoors to go thing in my head, kind of the reason I started it is to try to let people know to, even though we're doing we're doing a social media podcast, but at the same time, I want to tell people like, hey, that's fine. Like I cut grass all day long, so I listen to a ton of podcasts, and it helps me get better at things that I like to do, whether it's fishing or I listen to some cooking podcasts, some hunting podcasts. So it's helping me get better at things by listening to how other people do it. But for people that are sitting and watching uh, YouTube all day, or they're killing time that they could be going out and enjoying themselves in the outdoors. I want people to get out and do it. And that's the other thing is you have a lot of these people that are commenting on stuff. Man, like I'll look at stuff too, but at the same time, if I've got a 4-hour chunk and I can figure out how to drag my kayak somewhere and go fishing, that's what I'm going to do. If I've only got 15, 20 minutes, I may pull up a Greg Blanchard video and see if he had to go to In-N-Out Burger that day because he didn't catch any fish. But that rarely happens for him. Like, I don't even know why In-N-Out even sponsors that, because he always catches fish. But that's the other thing. I want people to not get sucked into Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Um, you know, yeah, use that format and that form of entertainment to a degree, but don't let that be your whole outdoors experience is through a screen. Go out and experience it yourself, and that's what all those creators would tell them too. Greg
Absolutely.
Greg Blanchard, he doesn't make those videos to he didn't start doing that to make money. He makes some money off of it now. He started it to show people like, hey, this is what kayak fishing is. This is something I love to do. Look how cool it is. Now you go do it too. And I hope that's kind of what my stuff does too. If it's a tournament or whatever, it's like, man, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna have fun. I'm probably not ever gonna win a huge tournament for sure. But at the same time, man, I sure have fun trying. And, that's what I want people to take away from that. So,
Yeah.
I don't know how to fix that, but it's definitely something, like I said, as a whole, I feel like we can get a lot better at as being positive and not trying to tear people down, through
Yeah.
social media.
Spend time, building people up. Um, that's where we can really make a difference. I think we um, it's so much easier to pull people down than it is to pull others up. So if we can band together to pull people up instead of making one person struggle to stay up while they're constantly being pulled down, I think that's something that we can really strive for as a community. Because I mean, somebody comes in and their first experience with kayak fishing is they go and they buy themselves a cheap kayak just to get on the water, and they go in and they find a kayak fishing group that's the first one they click on, and they go in and they're excited. They share uh, their a picture of their new kayak, and they're excited, they're getting ready to get on the water, and they look and they get a whole bunch of laughing emojis and people saying, "Oh, that's such a terrible kayak, and you should always buy your second kayak first, and you don't know what you're doing because that's such a terrible kayak," and all that kind of stuff, man.
Mhm.
Odds are they're not that's going to be their last kayak.
Well, yeah, and that may be the last time they share something in that group too.
Yeah.
And I really think that that's something as a whole. You know, at these Facebook groups, you really need to, like, I want this to grow. I want it to keep growing. I want all these tournaments to sell out. I don't care if it's Hobie BOS, KBF, Bass Nation. Even the native big bass, that format is daggone fun, man. I mean, you talking about $1,000 big bass per hour. I mean, I don't have to catch 5 fish to win money. You know what I mean? I mean, you hook one good 22-inch fish, man, you got a shot at $1,000 on that hour. And so all these formats and all these different things, the same with the KFL, man, I like getting on there and watching live kayak fishing. I'm pretty sure whether you like the format or not, I don't think anybody else is able to stream live kayak fishing at the moment. I'm pretty sure KFL is the only one doing that. So I like getting on there and seeing what those guys are doing. So I really think that whatever somebody's doing, as long as it's, not detrimental to the sport, which I don't feel like any of those things are, that we all need to be promoting it, whether or not you fish those or not. You definitely don't need to be taking shots at them. What does that do? I mean, what good does it do? It's like you said, is it going to discourage a new person from fishing? Let's just say people are taking shots at KBF. If that's the closest tournament to me, but I don't think it's a good trail because of all the things that people are saying, and I don't go fish it, and that could be somebody that could have went on to win some trail events. You never can tell. You listen to people's fishing stories, and some of these people that are winning 10 years ago, they weren't even fishing,
Right.
period. I'm talking about they weren't bank fishing. They weren't kayak fishing. They weren't boat fishing. Some of these people are like, yeah, I just picked up fishing and I got into this 7 or 8 years ago. And then I started doing this trail or that trail. Well, man, if somebody is on there bashing that trail and they didn't start doing it, so I just want to say, we just need to be positive and promote everything. That doesn't mean that, you're going to go around and lift everybody up. It doesn't mean you're going to agree with everything.
Right.
And it doesn't mean you can't have an opinion about it. But at the same time, just be informed about what's going on and the things that are happening. And, don't try to tear something down just for the sake that it's, like you said, it's something different and it's not the same as what you're doing or the same thing as what you choose to do.
Yeah, and whenever you go and comment on a post, keep in mind you may be the only representative of the kayak fishing sport that this person interacts with.
Yeah.
Or at least you may be the first and God forbid, as a result, be the only. So make sure that we're representing the sport the right way, because it really is a fantastic community. I mean, you go out and you go fishing a kayak fishing tournament. Like, I've only been able to fish a couple this year, and one of them, we were able to choose between 5 lakes. And I show up, and there's only one other person in the lake that I choose to go to. He walks up, he says, "You going where I think you're going?" I say, "Yep." He said, "Me too." And we fished beside each other almost the entire day.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's something that we would have, like, in like in other communities, that might not fly.
Yes,
But
that's true.
up at
Yeah.
a creek mouth at the exact same time,
I was going to say,
and and
I
it's not
knew,
be a
I
it's
know
not
where you were at, and I started to go there too, but I was like, nah. I went to Wheeler, and then I watched the winter set out in the middle and catch a ton of fish, and I didn't catch a ton of fish, but my son, my 14-year-old rider, he did that tournament with me, and he was able to catch a fish, and we caught a few fish that day, but we had a good time. But we sat there and watched the guy right in the middle, and he was dragging a jig in the middle, like 20 feet of water, and he was flat wearing them out for the first 2 hours.
That's awesome. I would have loved to have been just somebody watching on Lake Raleigh to watch what's his name? Was it James that caught 92 inches fishing fishing Lake Raleigh for 8 hours. And for those listening who don't know, I think Lake Raleigh is like 60 acres.
Maybe I don't even think it's that. It's pretty
That
small.
that kid had his lure in every
Yeah,
inch of the water at some point or another, I bet.
yeah, yeah. I like that format where we got to choose between those different lakes.
Yeah, me too.
It was pretty good. And I know this week there's the Carolina, the East West, where you can choose between rivers, and hopefully that is able to be held this weekend. I know they're worried about some rain and some river levels getting up, so
Right.
um, yeah, that'll be interesting. The
Shouldn't
Yadkin
be
chain and the Neuse River.
shouldn't be too bad. I mean, the water's been really low lately, so
Yeah.
it doesn't take much on the Neuse though.
Mm.
That's a fast river.
Yeah, hopefully they'll be able to do it. I think they were either saying they were just gonna watch it and see how it progressed throughout the week. So it didn't rain today, so that's a good thing.
Funny story. My first time ever in a kayak for fishing purposes. So I had that little 10-foot Sun Dolphin Journey, and I took it. I was in Seven Springs, North Carolina, at the ramp and at the bridge there on the Neuse, and my plan was to paddle upstream and float downstream and
Mm.
fish. And so I have no clue what I'm doing. I go out there and I'm in a $250 $300 kayak and paddle combo.
Yeah.
I am North Carolina law says that the PFD has to be on the boat, but not necessarily on your person. So I had it strapped up at the front where I could never reach it if I needed it. Um, and I get out there and it's like paddling on a treadmill.
I was gonna say that sun dolphin will walk side to side more than go forward.
And I paddled with everything I had, and I was looking at the tree to my left, and it never moved.
Wasn't moving.
And so I said, you know what, God, like I'm gonna stop, and either you're gonna tell me where to go, or I'm gonna drop anchor and wait for somebody to tow me back. Um,
Well, at least you didn't post that on some Facebook group and somebody bashed you for trying to use
right,
the sun dolphin. You might not be sitting here right now, right?
that's right. But I stopped, and the current whipped me around, and I looked and I saw a little eddy to my right, and so I was able to steer over to that eddy and get turned around and paddle back right next to the shore, right back to the launch. I think I was on the water for a total of 15 minutes. And I called my dad and I said, "You ever get tired of being wrong?" Because he had told me that
Yeah.
day. He said, you're gonna take it on the river." He said, it's like flood stage 15 feet. There's no way. There's no way.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah. Dads have a good way of doing that, being right.
I might get to that point at some point, but we'll see.
You will.
All right, man. Well, I think that's I think we kind of hammered that point home a little bit. But yeah, man. So, did you have any final thoughts before we kind of hung up for the night?
No, just I hope everybody takes the chances that they have and gets outside and does something. It may be only sitting on the front porch in the morning time for 10 minutes, or if you get a chance to go fishing or you get a chance to get out into the woods, get out there and do it, and don't live totally vicariously through YouTube and Instagram, even though that's good to look at when there's no way you can get out there and do it. But take those opportunities to get out there, because I guarantee you it'll get you closer to God and get you in a better place. So
Absolutely. And I'm gonna ditto that, and I just want to say, take some time to be positive, and not just on Facebook, but in general. Be be encouraging. Be somebody who's going to lift somebody up, and you'll find that a lot of times ends up doing a lot more for you than it does for them. That there's a Todd Agnew song called "Love Your Neighbor," and he kind of talks about this. The first verse, he's talking about this guy standing on the side of the road asking for money, and he's grumbling. And he probably doesn't even live here. Probably has a house with a pool. What kind of thing. And he says, but love your neighbor doesn't ask me if I fully understand. Doesn't ask if he's a working kind of man. And he's talking about God. He says, love your neighbor is a little about them, probably more about me, but it's a lot about you. And that's something we got to remember whenever we're out there. If we're loving our neighbor, we're being encouraging. We're lifting up. We're not going to make fun of them for being different. We're not going to, we're not going to be doing more harm than good.
Yeah, that's right. I had one other thing to share with you. See if you can see that.
Oh man, those got there fast.
Yeah, look at that.
So Robert is, for those of you listening later on the podcast, Robert's holding up a Whitty.
Yeah, so that's a -1, and there's the flat side.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that's one of the crankbaits from Whitty Outdoors, who we interviewed on the podcast, and
yeah,
we came out this week.
Yeah, I can't wait to try those deals out. So yeah, thanks to Whitty Outdoors for getting those out to me. And I told him I'd post some pictures, some fish that been caught with them. So see if we can get out there this week and get that done.
I need to get some of those the flat sided before the winter time gets here.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I love the flat sided ones for sure.
Absolutely, man. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and say let's end it there. So we will go ahead, and I will go ahead and say this episode is going to take the place of the weekly episode for next week. So we'll go ahead and get it posted somewhat soon. It's not going to go up tonight because it's 10:11 p.m. local time, and I'm ready to go to sleep and get some more cold medicine in me. But yeah, man. So we will be back with another interview. So not next week, but the week after, we'll have another interview for y'all. So, you want to sign it out, or you want me to sign it out?
You go ahead, man. You're the pro at it.
Well, again, thank you all for listening, helping us get to 5,000 listens. That's going to do it for this episode. Y'all take care, and God bless.
Thank you for listening to the Faith in Fishing podcast. Faith in Fishing is produced and hosted by me, Cam Steele, and is sponsored by Jade's Jigs, Get Outdoors Pedal and Paddle, Save Your Outdoors, Atollas, and Mr. B Lure Company. Be sure to give us a rating and a review and to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. That's going to do it for this episode. Y'all take care and God bless.